Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. Earth-based spirits. Thank you so much for being here and for making some time today to just tune in and align with the earth so that we can really tap into that magical flow in our own lives. So thank you. Thank you so much for just checking in and being present with me this morning. If you're catching this on the replay, do let me know. It is always so nice to see that you're catching this at some point in your day. Always really good to hear from you. So this morning I'm going to unpack a little bit about the theme of the month of October, and I'm going to go on a little rant, so just buckle up your seatbelt and come along with me for the ride. Good morning, everybody. October is a huge month and it's such an important month. And if you're like me, and I'm seeing so many of my friends just really excited about October, the opportunity to cuddle up and get cozy and get warm. October is an invitation into rest. The summer season has been hot and intense and full on and busy and full of activity. And October is this beautiful invitation to slow down, to become more quiet. Now, I've called this couch church this morning the walk of death. And so I want to unpack that with you, because in the wonderful surrender to the season that we've just embraced and are stepping into, we also have to keep in mind that what's happening to the earth right now is her preparing to die. And so this month, unlike any other month in the year, our focus needs to turn in alignment with the earth as she embraces death, to also think and consider and ponder over death. How we experience it when we let something die, how we experience it when we let someone go, how we experience it when someone we love dies, and how we ourselves personally will experience our own death. October is that month that we focus on death. It's really ironic, or not really at all, when you think about how we are starting the season of autumn with an ending. We start the season of autumn with the ending, with death. It's really interesting when you think about how oxymoronic that is, that we are starting with the ending. And that just brings our emphasis to how important it is for us to have good, clean, solid endings in our life, so that we can move on with integrity and empowerment and confidence and peace of mind. Think about and reflect on endings that you've had in your past that were rough, tumultuous, that didn't end well, and remember the remnants of bad endings in your life. And if you could only go back now with the wisdom that you have and end things differently, well, October is that invitation to consider how we have ended things in the past and how we prefer and want and desire things to end for us in the future. So we move into the autumn season with this concept of death, and for this 1 month, we get to really unpack our relationship with death. And it's the uncomfortable conversation. It's the one thing that we, even though we are so embracing of the slow, warm coziness of this month, death is something that is uncomfortable. So there's this beautiful thing that the earth does by inviting us into this beautiful descent that she's embarking on. There's so much beauty that she is showing us as she prepares for death. And that is to encourage us and to support us to see the beauty in our own endings. How powerful that perspective can be when we just change the way we think about endings. That it can be beautiful, and they can be graceful, and they can be done with a surrendering, as opposed to this tight needing to control and possess how something ends, but to surrender and let endings flow in a natural, graceful way, I think is one of the main things that we have to learn in this lifetime. Death is definitely something in our society that we are so resistant to, and death has been taken from us in this modern civilization. No longer do we, or no longer are we supported in the process of tending to our loved ones as they die in our own homes. And thank goodness there's a resurgence of home funerals and more eco-friendly burials. We are starting to reclaim our natural right to participate in that death walk more and more, like our ancestors did 100 years ago, where death was not such a foreign, uncomfortable, scary thing. It was an accepted part of life and incorporated into the family in ways that I would say since the Second World War has changed for us. And so may we be more conscious of our own participation with death at this time in particular. So when you're out for a walk or you're just stepping outside for a breath of fresh air and you notice the changing of the leaves, you can feel the change in the air, you can you know that winter is coming. This is our invitation to sit in our discomfort. See, we live in a pain-phobic society. When you go to the emergency, the first thing they ask you is how much pain are you in? And they want you to rate your pain, and they will medicate you so that you are relieved from your pain. And you know, you think about 100 years ago, there was no such remedies for pain. Pain was something that you learned how to be with. And yes, thank God for modern medicine, and I'm so grateful for the relief that they've been able to offer us. But there's this program around pain that you shouldn't feel pain, right? And pain is bad. But pain is absolutely necessary. If we don't experience pain, we're not aware of our own growth. You think of our children going through growing pains. You know, it's a necessary part of life to experience the pain of growth. And if we try to protect ourselves from pain, we end up internalizing it so much that it manifests in other ways. So in our pain-phobic, and might I even say death-phobic society, we come to this threshold where the veil is thinned between the worlds, and we come with fear and trembling. We come unprepared. We come crashing at the door of death, fighting and resisting, and our transitions are rocky and rough and disruptive and dismantling. So this month, as we start together in October, I'm going to invite you, as I do myself personally, is to begin considering your own passing, your own death, and to have these uncomfortable conversations with your family now while you're with them, while you have their attention, while they're sitting at the table with you. Let's create some comfortability around talking about the uncomfortableness of the transition through that last threshold. And you can do this in many different ways, but the most obvious ones are now turning your thoughts to your will and who you want to pass things on to, and the responsibilities that are going to be dispersed to other people once you pass on. This is a really good way to start stepping in sync with the earth and to prepare for her final descent, for her death, which we celebrate at the last harvest celebration that the old pagans have called Samhain for centuries and centuries and centuries. We in the Western world call it and celebrate it as Halloween. But this holiday, this time, this magical thinning of the worlds, the veil between the worlds, has been happening for centuries. Halloween is a North American invention. So way before Halloween, we were celebrating this relationship with the earth as she lays down and embraces death. And we feel that connection to our loved ones who have passed on, that nostalgic remembering of our loved ones. It comes up at this time naturally because that's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the earth preparing to die. Marcy says, pain is part of everyone's world somehow or another. 100%. And so with regards to pain and suffering, the Buddhists have this beautiful perspective over suffering, and that suffering is a necessary part of life. But one of the things that I told my children, and now they're young adults out into the world, was as much as I, their mother, wants to desperately protect them from getting hurt, I can't. I cannot protect my children, my young adults, from being hurt. They're going to get hurt, and they're going to experience pain that I cannot keep them from or protect them from. But what I can do, what we can all do, not just as parents, but as conscious, awake, participating adults, we can show our children, our young people, how to navigate through pain, how to embody, incorporate, assimilate pain, how to move through pain. We can show them that pain is a necessary process of growth, and that it is okay to be uncomfortable. It is okay to be challenged. It is absolutely essential to our growth and expansion as people that we allow ourselves to be challenged. So this month, the month of October, please take some heed and step in sync with the earth this month and have those uncomfortable conversations with the people you love. Have a game plan in place for an unexpected, rude interruption. We don't know the day that we will be called to that threshold. We are not promised tomorrow. We have no idea when our time will come up, that it will be our turn to make that crossing. And so why not be as prepared as possible? And so October, this month, we're talking about death, and we're going to be unpacking the themes of death this month. And may you be inspired to not only think about your own ending and how you want it to play out, but to think about how it will impact your loved ones and your friends, and take into consideration, sharing this part of the journey. You don't have to do this alone. You have community, you have friends, you have family, you have children, you have a partner, you have a best friend, your mother. Reach out and try as much as possible to have these conversations. This will be our focus for the month of October. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this isn't daunting, but that it falls on open hearts. And may you see the wisdom that the earth is providing us this month by showing us how to do it, how to embrace death. May you be blessed today, and I hope to see you tuning in for Tuesday Night Magic Cafe. It's been lovely to spend some time with you this morning. Many blessings. Take care.